Join us every day, usually in the morning between 5 and 11, for the Central Indiana Scoreboard Show, your daily audio sports section featuring scores, details, and sound bites from the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IndyCar, IU, Purdue, Ball State, Butler, major national sports news, and of course, the best high school sports coverage in Central Indiana. Every day. What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast, number 297.3. Our reaction to the IndyCar race at Gateway on Sunday night. I was joined by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, Dave Chanley and his granddaughter Heather Apt, Will Retherford, and our first-time guest Elijah Poe, who we really hope is going to continue to be a part of our IndyCar coverage. It was a good one. Enjoy.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Old man's going to bed, can't join us. Just had a birthday. I guess 51 is too much for him. Welcome, race fans, IndyCar fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and our reaction podcast to what, guys, was a fantastic race at Gateway at World Wide Technology Raceway. And I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, joined by Dave Chanley. Also Will, our national sports guy, and our guest Elijah Poe, who we will introduce in just a moment. But right now we go to Dave Chanley, who's there with his granddaughter Heather, and we're going to get their opinion of what, guys, that competitively, they've just found the right formula on almost every different type of racetrack now.
If you watch this race and you didn't enjoy Indy racing, there's something wrong with you, because it had absolutely everything, including sitting on the edge of your seat till the last three laps. And then you figured out that finally Kirkwood was going to hold on, although Ward and Rasmussen were battling it out for second right behind it. Heather was really happy with Dixon getting all the way up with fourth, and that was absolutely on strategy. Shout out to Ferrucci. Malukas had a great race until he rubbed the wall, but Foyt Racing is still there. And the last word I'll say to start with is Penske is just having a horrible year.
Just a horrible year. Is Heather going to join us?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, there you go. And welcome, Heather Apt, to the podcast, and your thoughts on a really great race.
I thought it was a really good race. I mean, we were all standing right in front of the TV for the last, 5 laps, I want to say. I mean, it just kept getting more and more interesting. You never knew who was going to win, I feel like, until the very last lap, basically. You still thought Award could maybe do it. Rasmussen maybe could pass Award. And then everyone else was just settling in. And I mean, even Palou got good points for today. And he really wasn't even in contention the whole race at all.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I thought Kirkwood was just stalking what felt like that entire race. Said in the group chat, he's lurking, and then he ultimately just kind of, I guess, Illett and Rosenquist felt like they obviously had to dive into pit lane. They just couldn't make it any longer, which is a shame because it'd been nice to get Illett his first win. But overall, just absolutely exciting race, better than anything NASCAR's put out this year, better than anything Formula One's put out this year, and quite frankly, this might be race of the year for the IndyCar series.
Hold on a second before we get to him. I cannot find. Give me a quick pause here. I'm going to text Michelle. All right, and then I'm trying to find the results. Probably
I got
them
him up on my TV, if that helps you.
They're also up on the IndyCar website.
I just looked, and it says David Malukas. That's where I am on the IndyCar website. I'm not looking in the right place, apparently.
I can just give you my it's IndyCar.com/leaderboard.
Okay. That's a new thing for me, so that should. Before we get to our guest, Elijah Poe, want to get to some results. Kyle Kirkwood was your winner, and guys, we'll start when we get done with the results here with Elijah. We got to say at this point that Kyle Kirkwood is probably the second having the second best season of everybody, especially when you consider the penalty at Indy. He might be right in this race. Pato O'Ward was second, Christian Rasmussen at third. A couple of names we didn't hear for much of the race. Scott Dixon did his voodoo, and it didn't get him the win, but it got him fourth. Santino Ferrucci continues to have an amazing season. Foyt continues to have a great season, although Malukas had a disappointing finish today, was fifth. The favorite driver of the Central Indiana Sports Report, Conor Daly, incredible race, led a lot of laps, finished sixth. Then VK Palou finished in eighth place after being 20th with 30 laps to go. That championship is over. And Marcus Armstrong, Robert Schwartzman, another incredible race for him. Brand new oval guy, has had an impressive start. So now we go to our guest Elijah Poe and Kyle Kirkwood. What a year he's having.
Absolutely, yeah. His third race win of the season has really been the only contender to Palou so far, and he's really been lacking on the ovals these past couple years. And for him to come out in the first oval of the calendar and pick up a win, and he really was in the thick of it all day. Obviously, sealed off his win there, even with Ward catching him. I think Ward probably would have caught him if there was even 2, 3 more laps, but there's only 260 laps for a reason, and Kirkwood was able to get it done today.
And by the way, thank you, Elijah, for joining us, and we hope to hear more from you throughout the IndyCar season. Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader joins us now. And Michelle, what a year the Foyt team is having.
Yeah, they're having a tremendous year. A little bad luck for Malukas there today to, first in the pits and come back and then hit the wall a little bit. But and then Ferrucci down at the end, yes, tremendous year for Foyt. You have all these teams and these drivers, but we still just have only 2 drivers that have won all year.
Crazy. Did we ever think that we'd see a season again in our lifetimes where the Foyt team was outperforming the Penske team? Was that
It's
even
actually kind of
possible?
enjoyable. However,
It
Penske has a
is. It's
hand in
been
that.
great. Of course he does.
Penske has a little bit of a hand in that since they've kind
Of
of
course he
partnered
does.
on some things.
Yeah, he probably had the biggest hand in it, but still, I never thought in my lifetime, Dave, that we'd say Foyt was having a better season than Penske ever.
Well, everything just is going, anything that can go wrong for Penske has gone wrong. Today was just a bad luck for Newgarden. He probably had a handle on this race. And then when the Foster slid in front of him, I think it was a little late on the yellow, and maybe that had something to do with it. And he just picked wrong. He picked to go low instead of high, and as a result, ran right over him.
Yeah, I think that Newgarden to me just early in that race had the best car. It's a shame that it ended the way it did because I do feel like it kind of had Penske's first win written all over it, especially with Newgarden's past success in St. Louis. But it just is shocking to me that there's been little to no competition outside of Palou and Kirkwood really for these wins. I mean, you got racers fighting until the end, but ultimately it feels like if those two are within striking distance with 10 left, they're just going to come away with a victory.
Yeah, I feel bad for Newgarden, although I'm Penske's. That's fine if they have a little bit of a down year, but I also feel bad. I mean, I really thought one of the best cars on the track all night was Rasmussen. It didn't. He just could not really get the lead. I mean, he made up a lot of a lot of positions from his starting post, but he just couldn't get the lead. But he could flat fly, and he was coming there at the end too. If that race had about another 10 laps, it would have been interesting between Kirkwood and Pato and Rasmussen.
Yeah, I definitely feel for willpower in the whole Penske situation as well. Obviously starting on pole, he's going through contract situations as well throughout this off season, and for him to be running up there pretty much the whole time until he crashed out, it's just a shame. You definitely don't want to see a veteran like willpower out of the sport, the personality that he is. So it sucks to see Will take that one.
The question is, does Penske stay with who he keep the same drivers that he's got under contract
No
this year,
chance
next year,
that's happening.
especially if they don't get a win this year.
Will
I
Power's
could
gone. There's no way, right, Elijah? There's no way Will Power's coming back.
I think, since they don't have a race win, if he is the first one to get a win for Penske this year, I think he stays because it's pretty much set in stone that David Malukas is going to be in that seat at some point. Could be next year, it could be in 2 years, but I think it's pretty much whatever Roger wants. If David can stay another year at AJ Foyt, not only would it help Penske, but I think AJ Foyt would have another great year. But obviously, the question really is Malukas ready to step up to that Penske car? I think he is, but it still might be early.
Yeah, I see Scotty Mack and Newgarden as, I mean, they're not going anywhere. Those are two of probably the top five skill-wise drivers probably on the circuit as far as that. But I do feel like personally, I think Malukas would maybe benefit a little bit from another year with Foyt. One, I just like to see Foyt be successful. Like they've kind of brought Ferrucci and Malukas along for this journey and maybe took a chance on them when they were still relatively unpolished drivers. And it just feels good that they're able to be on this platform with the opportunity to drive for top three in standings and points by the end of the year when it's all said and done.
You could definitely say that the best driver this year has been Palou, no doubt about it. The second best has been Kirkwood, no doubt about it. I think you could say pretty safely that Malukas has been the third best driver of this season.
I agree with that. I think he has been. I mean, he's up front or battling for the lead or runs up front almost every race. I think he's a nice young talent, and I would like to see him. I'm hoping he breaks through this year and gets a win. I'd also like to see Conor Daly finally break through. He's had some good performances. He just can't make all the way through yet.
I think Connor had a bad pit stop early that put him in the back a little bit. He was a little slower on the pit stop, somewhere around a lap 100, and I think he lost some spots there. But
I think
he had a
battling for the
fast car.
I think battling for the lead there, Dave, so hard with 100 laps to go really cost him. I thought at the time it was kind of a mistake to just go that hard for a lead when there was that much time left, and it definitely took out his tires for that stint, and it felt like he'd never quite had the pace again.
No, he didn't after he came back out. You're right. We'll say I still look at this, especially the championship race, and we say it's all but over. But the reason is Palou didn't have a car worth a hoot today. And look at it. He finishes eighth. He just finishes eighth because he is just a genius out there. I think he must have inherited Dixon's brain because he has a lot of the same similarities. He didn't have a chance today, but he kept himself out of trouble and in contention and eighth place and a lot of points.
He
That's
and
right. He's
Dixon
protecting
are
that
both
points
very
lead.
much like Rick Mears. They're very much like Rick Mears was. A lot of wins by just being smart, and a lot of points by just being smart.
Yeah, I agree.
I especially think with the case, I mean, there was a few times he was in four car wides parts of that race and it just gets out unscathed, no issue. I think it's his ability to like mitigate damage. I don't think that I feel like you see in the way he drove today that he knew the car was not up there with the top five and he just kind of stays out of trouble and it's perfect just execution as far as on a long term season. He kind of I guess gave up tonight, didn't probably push the envelope because you don't want to crash out and finish in 24th. That's really bad for points. So I think just finishing and it's brilliant. That's why he is the best that this organization and this series has to offer.
He's got a shot to be really scary. Eighth place today and kept his nose clean. He's got a shot to be really scary if he really figures out these short ovals. Obviously, it does feel like he's a little bit away, but he figured out Indy in a pretty good amount of time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he can knock off these ovals here this season.
Elijah, does it feel like maybe winning the Indy 500 took a little bit out of Alex Palou?
It's really hard to say. He had a decent race at Detroit before he got hit with Malukas behind him. But obviously, I don't think he was going to win that. And this weekend, it felt like the Ganassi cars in general, other than Dixon getting up there and Armstrong qualified decently. Um, Other than that, though, they just weren't really there. And I just don't think they have it all together on the ovals. But I can see, the 500 regressions is a real thing. That media tour I see, and everybody sees it on social media all week. They just have them running around, and it takes a lot out of you. But if there's one person that can recover from a little bit of an odd stretch, it would be Alex Palou.
Hey, do we say though that the save of the day was done by Pato Award?
Oh my, yes,
I can't believe he saved that. One of the biggest ones we've seen in a long time.
Yeah,
yeah,
he grabbed safety from the jaws of perishing in that one. That was
Yeah, that's
quite
right.
impressive.
yes, it was, it was.
And now the
I feel like
series
that's such
moves.
a
Go
I
ahead,
feel like
Elijah.
that's such a
Hold
regular.
on, Elijah. Hold on. I want to say something real fast. If we have a part where we speak over each other, just pause 10 seconds and then we'll restart it because I don't like the talking over. So give me about a 5-second pause, then go ahead, okay?
Getting into paddle, I feel like we see that with him every year. He's making these saves with his hands. They call him Mr. Quick Hands for a reason. Seeing him on the ovals work his magic, he's truly one of the more artful drivers in the way he navigates traffic. It's a joy to watch Pato. It's just a matter of time before he gets his first win this year.
And now the series heads to another just tremendous venue for great racing. Can't wait to see what they do up in Wisconsin this weekend. Good to see the schedule finally getting week to week, or at least every other week. Man, the start to this season is really tough. They really got to get Phoenix in there. More short ovals, the better, right, guys?
Well, today's short oval race, I think, showed everybody just what fabulous racing. Here's one of the differences. The guys at the back end of the pack are a factor in oval racing because they're right there with everybody. When you get on a road course, they're in the back and they're never a factor. They're never in anybody's way. But on an oval, you catch up to them, you've got to pass them, and they become a factor. And I love it.
Especially those short ovals. I mean, it doesn't take you long to hit into traffic, and I love it too because I think the short ovals bring a lot about driver skill into play, and I love that.
There's been a big push by IndyCar to push the series onto road and street courses, which is great. But I think, you watch a short oval race and you're convinced that's the best racing you're going to see out of the series. It really is. And I
And there are
wish,
so many good options for early in the season, like Phoenix and some of these places, Homestead, and I don't know why they're not racing in these places.
yeah, it's brutal because you see every time you go to an oval, you see the great racing and you want more of it. But every year the schedule, there are 5 or 6 races, and you'd love to see them at Phoenix, Texas, but I don't know where that stands, but you just want to see him on more ovals, that's for sure.
And the good thing is, and it sounds like all I'm doing is tooting IndyCar's horn. I'm just saying they found the right racing formula, even on the street courses, which through the years have generally been not the best racing. They've even found the formula on that, which is pretty incredible, especially when you watch a Formula One race, and they have definitely not found the formula.
And I'll give Fox some credit. I thought today they did a good job, and they are really promoting. I've seen more and more commercials about IndyCar racing this year than I have seen at any other point. I think they realize we have a great product here that if we push it, we're going to get a lot of viewership.
Yeah, network television is desperate for live television and desperate for sports, and this is seems like a Sunday night race on an oval, pretty perfect.
I give a little credit to Penske Entertainment for making that jump. NBC, I'm sure everybody loved Lee Diffie in the booth. I know I did. That he was electric, and
Don't like
NBC
this
had,
guy.
and it.
I just don't know why they didn't go with Kevin Lee. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, I agree. Kevin Lee, Ball State grad. Chirp
And
chirp.
he's passionate about it and he's good at it and uh, he talks about it in his spare time. That's the kind of guy you want, and this guy just is not it. I'm sorry, I can't even remember his name now, but
Will
Buxton,
Buxton.
Will Buxton.
Buxton
Yeah.
wasn't a huge fan of Diffie either, but he was way better than this. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Get
I
Kevin
think they
Lee in
had
the
some
booth,
better guys
Fox.
on there radio broadcast than they
Oh
do
yeah,
Yes, they do.
television.
their
Yes,
radio
but
is superior.
keep Hinchcliffe on there.
Yes, and I like Townsend a
Absolutely.
lot too, and I like them together. But definitely keep, without a doubt, you got to keep Hinchcliffe. He is. If you're going to stay with anybody on that broadcast, he's the guy. I think through the first half of the season, Fox has been a C minus D plus to the series, but there's some potential there. And you're right, they are definitely promoting it more than anyone else has previously since I can remember in the 80s with ABC, probably.
I like the promotion. I just wish, because they do it, and with technology today, that if you go, I didn't like it tonight because that last like yellow, and I get it when you have cars on the track and you the cleanup and maybe keeping the coverage live because you're not really sure exactly when pits are going to open. But that last caution, I mean, they kept it live after a lot of those pits, and then they go back and they're green for just a handful of laps, and then they go to these commercials, and that's when Scott McLaughlin gets out of his car and things, and that's fine. But I think have the ability to cut back in and then go back to commercials if you want, or when you come back, forget the little intros, little written stuff that you have, and jump to the issue. You can always add back whatever that fluff was that they when they came back to came back to audio as well as video. They could have pushed that later and just said what went on. Instead, they talk for a couple minutes and then they get to McLaughlin, and it's like you're watching, but you don't know. You kind of want to know what's going on with the car and why he got out and why he's done.
Yeah. Go ahead, Elijah, with your final thoughts.
Overall, just a great race on the oval. It's IndyCar at its best. It really is, and no other winner than Kyle Kirkwood coming in first. It's huge to not only kind of tighten that gap with Palou. Palou's obviously untouchable, but to see another prominent force that can match Palou is great for the series, and it should be a great weekend in Road America next week, and that's always provides some of the best IndyCar racing we see.
Yeah, I thought the short oval stole the show tonight. It made for excellent television. They've got a few more coming up the rest of the year. The rest of the year is essentially 1-to-1 with road courses. Two ovals, they double up. They go 2 weeks at oval, 2 weeks at road course. I just think that's going to make for great viewing. This is the most skilled uh, driving series in the entire world. I'd put any of these drivers up with anyone else, and I hope that that continues to be spotlighted by Fox and in media.
And without question, the most balanced and deep talent in the world, I think. Maybe not the top, but definitely the most balanced and deep.
And let me give a shout out too, because we haven't mentioned it. Kyle Kirkwood is Andretti Global, and he has not kind of been a factor as far as Andretti goes, but he's made him a contender. And also, that was a Honda winner today over the Chevy.
Is Heather still there?
Yes, Heather, last thoughts.
Heather,
I think that it was a good race. I mean, I'm just excited that we're gonna start getting into more ovals. I mean, the road courses can be kind of boring at some points because there can't be as much passing, and it's just hard to watch sometimes when you just know that there's a clear winner and stuff. So I'm excited to see more oval races and see who can come into the to win, and if there is a new winner, if it will just keep a battle between Kirkwood and Palou. So I'm excited to hopefully there's a new winner too.
Michelle.
Hey, I love the ovals. I prefer the ovals over the road courses, um, especially in the IndyCar. And I especially like these short ovals, and I like night races. I think it's fun. I think IndyCar needs to do, I like these night races. I think
Love
it's
them.
adds a little more challenging because if you start, this time of year, you start in daylight and some heat, and then as conditions change, but it just, I think, racing under the lights. I think anything played under the lights usually is a little bit more exciting.
My final thought that in the last 20 laps, cars from these teams were in contention to win this race. Juncos Hollinger, Foyt, Meyershank, Prima, and that makes for some really great racing. Doesn't happen in other sports. It's been fantastic, the product that they've created. Now Fox needs to match that. The other thing I want to say is that the Worst IndyCar race is better than the best golf tournament.
You may have
Okay.
That's
stepped on
it.
some toes there, but
That's it. That's all I wanted to say about that.
okay.
You're taking the poke at me, but I'm
You,
sorry.
Yes, I am.
Greg, did you not see that outstanding putt today?
I was about to
Just
Yes,
for
say
Spawn was a great story.
yes, and
that
it still
putt.
wasn't as good, even close to as good as this IndyCar race tonight.
It was a better moment.
Yes,
This was
True.
a better
it was the best moment of this sports day.
Event. Fair enough. Fair
this
enough.
was a better
Yeah.
event.
Yeah.
That was a
Yes,
better moment. That was an
agreed.
awful final round to a golf tournament until that putt. Like this has been one of the worst weekends of golf I've ever followed or been around in my life. That course was ridiculously hard. It's not fun to watch that. And I'm glad that IndyCar came in and stole the little influence golf had because it just was the spotlight on the evening, in my opinion.
But
And I
U.S.
wasn't
Open's
watching
supposed
golf,
to
I was
not be.
watching the College World Series, so I'll just let you know.
Mm,
I was just gonna say this: the U.S. Open is not made. They don't want 9 unders and 10 unders to win. They want it to be the most challenge. That's one of the things the USGA sets up. They want it to be one of the most challenging tournaments out there, and these courses are pretty tough. I remember when I went to watch Griffin Hare, when he competed in the 18U Junior USGA Junior Amateur in Toledo, Ohio. And just that course, that's just they pride themselves.
Thanks to Dave and Heather, Will, Michelle, and our special guest, Elijah Poe, for joining us. And to you for listening. If you like what you hear and want to help us continue to grow and thrive, all you have to do is share this with your friends and family.
Or strangers or enemies or whoever you come across.
That's right. If you see somebody on the street and they have a Pacer shirt on, right? Yell at them, hey, over there. There's this really cool podcast. It's called Central Indiana Sports Report. We talk about the
They get
Pacers.
the idea. They get the idea.
We talk about the Pacers and IndyCar and the Colts and Fever and all that cool stuff. Don't stop me, producer Susie. I'm going off here. We still got like 30 seconds till it's scheduled to be out. Oh, we're watching Kitty Cam and it's just too much. Back home again. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie. Go Pacers!